I was standing in line at Denver International Airport, gripping my duffel bag so tightly my knuckles turned white. I had planned this trip in secret, a quiet escape, my first real vacation in years. I'd worked overtime, saved every penny, and booked everything without telling anyone, especially not my family. But they always had a way of finding things out. When I handed my ticket and passport to the agent, she paused, scanned again, and gave me a strange look. "I'm sorry, Miss Reyes," she said. "Your ticket was cancelled an hour ago. Refund was issued to a card ending in 4401. My heart dropped. That was my mother's card. I stumbled away from the counter, pulling out my phone just as a text came through. "Mom, have fun walking home, loser." I stood frozen. She didn't even try to hide the cruelty anymore. This was no longer tough love, this was sabotage. Just then, I caught sight of a small boy stumbling behind a bench. His mother caught him, smiled, brushed him off. The tenderness of that simple moment hit me like a wave. I barely made it to the airport bathroom before the tears came. Not for the trip, but for the years I had spent pretending that my parents' behavior was normal. It wasn't. They had never treated me like they did my sister, Leah. Leah, the golden child. She got a new car at 16, a condo paid for, a fairy tale wedding. I got thrift store shoes and lectures about responsibility. I was never enough. Wiping my tears, I walked back out into the terminal, aimless. My phone buzzed again. "Dad. Don't be dramatic, Eliza. Crash at Leah's if you're so desperate." Leah. The same sister who once kicked me out into a snowstorm because her boyfriend didn't like visitors. The same sister who said I was born to be a side character. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a rideshare app, debating whether I even had the funds to get across town. That's when a small white car pulled up beside me. The driver, a man in his 60s with kind eyes, leaned out. "You all right? You look like life just hit you with a truck." I laughed softly. "Close. A text." He smiled. "Rough family." He nodded. "Hop in. I'm off shift. I'll take you wherever you need to go." I hesitated, but something about him felt safe. Got in. "Where to?" Paused. "Nowhere. Just drive, please." He didn't ask questions. He just drove. For the first time in years, I opened up to a stranger named Harvey about everything. My family. Leah. The constant dismissals, the sabotage, the pain. He listened. No pity, just presence. Eventually, he pulled into a park and said quietly, "You remind me of my daughter. Stronger than she thinks. She left years ago. I hope she's okay." Smiled. "I think she's better than okay." Then I opened a folder on my phone I hadn't touched in months. Labeled options. It held everything. Financial records, investment reports, real estate documents. Years ago, I'd taken a financial planning course in college and fell in love with the game. I worked odd jobs, interned, saved, and invested. They thought I was broke because I drove a beater and lived humbly. What they didn't know, I owned stocks, properties, businesses, and the house they rented. Yes, they were living in my property. And they were 3 months behind on rent. They thought their texts broke me. But they didn't. They freed me. I turned to Harvey. "I think I'm done being their daughter." He tilted his head. "What do you mean?" I looked out the window. "I think I'm about to become their landlord." When I arrived, their house looked exactly the same. Peeling paint, overgrown lawn, Leah's white SUV parked outside. But I wasn't the same. I walked up to the door, unlocked the mailbox, and pulled out a stack of rent checks, all made out to Eliza Properties LLC. My company. I stepped inside without knocking. My mom looked up from the couch. "What are you doing here?" Dad emerged, chewing on a sandwich. "Didn't we cancel your trip? Thought you'd be crying in the terminal." Leah, at the kitchen island, filed her nails and smirked. "Guess the charity flight didn't work out." I placed my duffel bag down and pulled out 3 eviction notices. One for the counter, one for the fridge, one for the stairs. "You're 3 months behind on rent. This is a formal termination of your lease." Mom scoffed. "You can't evict us." "I can. And I own this house. Bought it under a trust 2 years ago. The lease is in my LLC's name. And I don't rent to emotionally abusive tenants. They stared in shock. Leah laughed. You're bluffing. I played an audio recording from my phone. Let's cancel her flight. Teach her not to hide things from us. Maybe she'll get stranded. Serves her right. Their voices, captured on a baby monitor I hid in my bag the last time I visited. Dad growled. You spied on us. No, I said. I documented squatters violating their lease. Just then my phone buzzed again. Leah had paid $14,700 through the tenant portal. You said it was delayed, she shouted. Only because you laughed when I fell last Christmas while holding your kids' gifts. Remember that. Her jaw clenched. I also remember serving dinner to your kids while mine ate on the floor. Because he wasn't a real cousin. I walked up the stairs. Every photo on the wall was of Leah. None of me. Bought with my money, they still used my Amazon account. I found my old sketchbooks, awards, letters stuffed into a bin in the guest room. I photographed them, then dumped them in the trash. As I stood by the door, I looked at them all, confused, stunned, angry. 3 days, I said. After that, I file with the sheriff. Mom whispered. We raised you. No, I said. You drained me and called it love. I turned and walked out. A week later, the sheriff served the eviction. Leah had already left. Her husband had discovered she drained their account to pay the rent. My parents stood on the porch, pale and broken. Eliza, we didn't mean to hurt you, Mom said, tears finally falling. I looked at her, scarf around her neck, the one I bought on a maxed-out card years ago. Yes, you did. You just didn't think I'd ever matter enough to fight back. I handed the sheriff an envelope. Inside, a photo of me and my son smiling. Underneath, I'd written, "This is what a family looks like. Not what you built." Then I walked away. Back to my life. Back to the home where every inch belonged to me. Not out of revenge. Out of proof. Proof that even after being made to feel like nothing, I became everything they never saw coming. And they would never laugh at my son again. Not unless they wanted to beg for a plate. If you like this story, subscribe and tell us where you're watching from.